All right, so if we were to take a look and we wanted to do some other things, maybe we want to take a look at Viewshed, for example. So with a Viewshed, one of the things to keep in mind is that you also need some sort of point level data to do the Viewshed from. So if I head over into my geoprocessing and started typing for Viewshed, right? So I can click on this Viewshed, and what it'll say is I need my input raster, right? So my input raster is my elevation raster, where what's my elevation actually, but then I also want to take a look at my input point or observation features, right? So this is to try and figure out where my observers are, right? So what can I see from certain points? So right now we're just going to start with one, and we're just going to take a look at what that does. So I'm going to go over into my catalog on the right hand side. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to click new, and I'm going to put in a new feature class. I'm just going to call this for now observers. We're going to start with one. I'm going to change this into a point, and then I'm going to head over. I don't really need anything in terms of extra attributes to put in here. And so what this is just going to do on the left-hand side, you can see is this just is going to create an observers data set. From there, I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go to create. I'm going to create a new observer. And so you'll see down here, right? So edit, create, click on the observers over here, and now I have different options down here. So essentially what this is taking a look at is it's saying, okay, so what I can add a new point in really anywhere here. I can add in multiple points. So for now, I'm just going to create one, and I'm just going to create it at this top one here. So in theory, this top one should be able to see a large portion of this area. That's what my theory is in this case. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to hit save. And I do want to save that edit. And so now I have this nice new observer point here. If I right click on this and go to my attribute table, I should see it pop up. I have this one new point here, object ID 1, and it is point Z. So that's what I've got right there. So that's what I want to do. Now I want to not end up in my create anymore. So instead, I'm going to head over into my Viewshed. I'm going to go and I'm going to say that I want an input raster over here. And so my input raster, I want it to be this USGS one that I've been using. And then I want to head to my observers. And so right now it says that my point has a selection. So you can see that this has this teal one here. That's fine. I'm just going to clear it though and refresh this. There's only one point anyways, but there's no point. And so I'm just going to call this this Viewshed test 1 with observer. And then output above ground level raster. So this is essentially saying that if there's something that I need to be taking a look out for, right? So right now, things that have a value of 0, so anything that's on the ground is going to be good. But this also can say that there is something that needs to be added to make it more visible, right? So I can say that there's another thing, there's some sort of thing here that says, we also have a maybe an urban layer over this, or something that has a bunch of towers, and we might have some rasters that are maybe I have 30 meters over here, 30 meters over here, and 30 meters over here, and that's going to change whether or not those points are viewable. We're not going to do that in this case. We're just trying to see, okay, so from the ground, what's visible? Z factor, as per usual, is our stretch factor. And then do we want to use the Earth's curvature correction, right? So this is saying, okay, so if this area is big enough, do we want to add in the curvature of the Earth, right? So that's going to adjust where some of these features are visible or not. This is a pretty small area, so I'm not really going to add in this curvature of the Earth. If I was dealing with something a little bit larger, I might, but for the purpose of this isn't really all that big, so I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to run my Viewshed and see what it does. So this Viewshed again is taking a look at, from that observer position, what can I see, right? So if I'm at the top of that mountain, if I've hiked that mountain, what can I see from there? Can I see this river over here? Can I see this river over here? What exactly is it that I can and cannot see in this particular case? Now, it may be that I can't see anything. It may be that I can see a lot of things. it's kind of hard to say. In this case, though, I should be able to see at least a decent chunk of this valley down here, and I should be able to see a decent chunk of this valley over here as well. So basically anything that's sloping down out of this, I should be able to see those things. And so, but maybe I'm not able to see it, you know, the backside of this mountain. And so this is going to give us an idea about what's visible. Are there blind spots, things like this? This is really useful for also doing things like, this is very commonly done in something like an active shooter analysis or those types of things. Right. And so in this case, I've got one observer, and this is what that observer can see. So from that point that I chose, this is what they can see. So if they have, and now keep in mind, I do not have good enough eyesight to see all the way down here. But if I had, let's say, binoculars or a telescope or something like that, that can really see that far out, I could maybe see part of this river over here. And then I can definitely see this valley coming through here, and I can see, you know, this part of the valley through here. But then all this stuff down here is blind. Right, so I can't see this area here. I can't see this back end of things here for whatever reason. If I dug into the specifics of it, it might have to do with, so I'm behind this, so I'm not actually on the top part of that ridge. So if I put myself over on this side of the ridge, I'd likely be able to see out this way instead. Right, so this is just going to show me what those different views are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm saying, okay, that's great, but I want to go back to this, and I want to go back to my edits, and I want to add in more observers, and I want to see what they can see, right? Because maybe I don't just have one viewer over there. Maybe I have a couple of different viewers. So I'm going to turn this off for a sec. I'm going to add in more viewers. So I've got a viewer there, and let's say I've triangulated this. So maybe I have put in, I don't know, a viewer on this mountaintop, a viewer on this mountaintop, maybe on this mountaintop, and a viewer on this mountaintop, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different people. And so I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I can see each one of those things. And so I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to save those edits. So now I have 5 of those. I want to go back to my map. I want to clear out that selection. I want to go back to my geoprocessing, and then I want to do this again. So I've got same thing here. I've got the same input as analysis. That's fine. In this case, I want to do this, and I have, I'm going to have this with 5 observers. So this is, let's call this Viewshed test 5, because I have 5 different observers in this particular point, and I'm going to run this again. Now I'm just going to pause this and then come back as soon as we have a value. All right, so now we end up with this data set, which we can see here. So what we can see is that we've got, in this case, 2, 4, 5 different levels of what we can see, right? So if I check this off, we remind ourselves, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different viewers. This is telling for each of these different locations how many things how many people can see each of these. Right, so if I head over on to this one over here, right, we've got these areas which are in dark red, which means they can be seen by 4 of those people. These ones here can be seen by 5. These ones here can be seen by 2 of those. These light ones can only be seen by 1. And then this area over through here can be seen by none of them, right? So if you were trying to find blind spots based on those, right, this is going to show you what those different blind spots are. And from there, you can take a look and see who you think might be viewing each of these. So this one here is going to likely be seen by, well, 1, 2, probably 3, and 4. And then you have a couple of different sections, which can also be seen by 5 in this case, right? And so then over here, you know, you might have, there's in this area back here, there's not a lot going on, right? We have only like a couple of different sections that have 1, and then very limited going back in this area, right? So this is what can kind of be viewed. We can see how far down the valley we can view. And this also gives us a way to kind of optimize where we can see all of the different things, right? Maybe we don't need sections where we have 5 different people seeing it. Maybe we need more of this valley covered. So where can we then optimize these to put out, you know, where those different view sheds are going to be. And so these ones are very, very useful in terms of being able to see what different points are observable for where. Now we can also use a different view shed, right? This is giving us essentially a raster with these different values. So instead we can take a look and we can use this view shed in the ready to use tools, which is then this one also has what's the maximum distance we can see, right? For us humans who have really bad views. We can use these point features. We can say how many meters. We can see what our DEM resolution is, how tall is our person, whether or not we've got a surface here. And then we can take a look at those different things and we can say, okay, well, based on that, let's run this view shed and see what we've got. And then we can use this offset. So this is going to be a tall human, but hey, not too bad anyways. So this is just gonna, again, take a little bit of time. I'm gonna pause this and be back once we have so that I can show you a bit of the difference. All right, and so we're back. So now what we can see is that we use that same thing, but what you'll also see is that this goes outside of our surface area. So what this one did is it pulled USGS data, but it's a different data set than what we actually have. So if we right click on this and go to the attribute table, we can see that this is a DEM resolution of 10, and this is 0.3 arc seconds, or this is 3 arc seconds. This one that we had here was less than that. So we had 1/9 of an arc second kicking around, but this is the same general data set. It's just a little bit looser. It shows us, what the different polygons are in each of these different cases, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So again, taking a look at those same things, right? So now if I check off of this, we're gonna see that those things are more or less the same, but they might have a couple of different things that look a little bit different, right? So these ones might not have the exact same values attached to them. They're going to be pretty close, but they're not going to be the exact same because it is a slightly different data set. It also is not limited by this zone here. But what you can see is that more or less it has the same generalized zone coming through here. We are missing some of these sections over here, right? So we are missing those. Now, but one of the things we can do is we can say that the max distance we can see is, I don't know how far away you guys can see, but I definitely can't see more than, let's go with 100 meters, right? So I'm going to say that I can see a maximum of 100 meters out, and we are going to run that one and see how it changes things. And it will again give us polygons. Now the polygons are useful instead of having a surface, because then we can also take a look and see how things are going to change. We can overlay those on with other bits of information, right? So if I uncheck that and I'm just going with this 100-meter data set, right? So really what I can see is just in that 100-meter zone on either end, right? So if I could see a full kilometer away and I did it again, this is going to expand this out to about a kilometer, and we can keep expanding that out as we are moving through this data set, right? So we're just taking a look at how these things vary, how these things differ, and we are taking a look at what that ends up meaning for each of these sections out, right? So if I can only see that kilometer, right, then we can see really where that circle on the one area sits, the circle on this area, the circle on that area. And so this can also help us in addition to these bits over here, because it'll also tell us if I know that I can only see a kilometer out, right? So then I can see, okay, so these ones for the most part are going to have to be relegated to this one over here. Maybe I can see part of this one, depends on how far that 1 kilometer is out and how far that 1 kilometer is out there. But these ones down here, right, no one can see these ones. These ones are too far out, which means that these ones are not going to be from these closest ones. These ones are going to be from these farther ones over here, because they're not within that 1 kilometer zone. So this will help you narrow down within a range what things are being seen by which people as well. So this is how we can take a look at view sheds and some of the things that they can do. You can overlay those on top of the previous ones that we've taken a look at, right? So I can then and be like, okay, I want to turn these a little bit more transparent so that they kind of just drape over top of the other ones, right? So I can have them drape a little bit nicer over the ones that we have underneath them so that they're not as stark on top of them, right? So they kind of look a little bit more like they're falling over top of that. And this just gives us a sense of, what we can see, where we can see it, and all of the different bits of information that might be attached to that. So that's what I've got for Viewsheds, and we'll be back here with more things later.